We're going through a financial series. Yes, the church is talking about money. You brought your friend. You've been inviting your friend for like 2 years. Now he shows up to church, and the pastor is going to talk about the very thing we're accused of, money, right? Just to confirm your suspicion about the church. No, once a year we go through the financial series because money is a big deal, right? We deal with money daily, many times a day, and God wants us to win with money. And so 2 weeks ago we talked about the past, and we talked about debt. Last week we talked about the future, because money has to do with the past, money has to do with the present, and money has to do with the future. And today we're going to talk about a couple of other things as well. And the whole goal, again, that it's God's heart and it's also our heart, that we just understand this thing called money and that we'll be good at. You know, like I had so many fights with my wife about money in the beginning of our marriage. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes I've made. And they say the top 2 reasons that couples fight is sex and money. And so, you see, it's a big deal. So we want you to be good with money. Now, here's the question just to make us a little tense, okay? Don't elbow your spouse. Don't do it. But who spends more, men or women? Don't. Who spends more? And I'll tell you, and this is going to be shocking to find out the results, you know, because studies show that women spend more often. $20 here, $30 there, $35 at Marshall's, TGI or whatever, TGA Maxx, those stores that I don't go to. I shop online. And it's funny, my wife used to come home and said, and when she said that, I hate it so much. I found a deal. And then she would go, and it gets worse. She would go like, the original price was, I'm like, no. It was $69, the original price, but I bought it for only $39. I'm like, don't you know that happens just every day of the year? And then having a budget was something that helped us so much. It was such a blessing in our lives. And we even dedicated, in our budget, we have a line item that's called allowance. Believe it or not, I'm a grown man and I still have allowance. And my wife has the same allowance. Because in the beginning of marriage, it was weird. She would call me and say, can I buy this? I'm like, yeah. Next day, can I buy this? Yeah. But how many times can you say yeah, right? You want to be a good husband, and so a budget really helped us out because a budget was neutral, right? It wasn't my opinion against her opinion. It was really, let's sit down and put these numbers together. Let's agree on, and then it's not me against her. It's not a tug of war, and a lot of blessings came from that. And if you want to learn more about finances, we're also going to follow up the series with a workshop teaching you guys all about how to win with money so it's not such a drag. Because we want to win with money and not lose with money. So going back, who spends more? Actually, women spends more often, but men spends more than women. Because then we go and we buy the $1,000 television, honey. It's only one purchase a year, but it's so big. And so that was good for me to find that out, that actually she wasn't the source of the problem, that I was. Anyways. Right? So today we're going to learn a couple of things that I hope will change our lives for the rest of our short time here on earth. And the first one is the following. We find this on Ecclesiastes 4:6, and it says the following. Better is one handful with tranquility. Repeat after me, tranquility. Again, tranquility. It is better to have one handful with tranquility than to have 2 handfuls with toil, and that is stress. So the Bible's teaching us here, it's better to have less with peace than more with stress. Less is more. And I know this is so counterintuitive because like we hear all the time, we think more is more, like how many pieces of clothing do we need, like and then the funny thing, we have the whole closet is filled with stuff and we open up and we say, I have nothing to, right? Isn't that funny? And then we go and we believe that more is more, that better is more, and not necessarily, because sometimes we forget about this one thing, that more may come with stress and toil. And so we have to consider before we make a purchase. We have to consider the invisible aspects of that purchase. And the invisible aspect is the accessory of stress. So let me give an example. You go to a car lot and you have it in your budget. I'm going to spend $300 in a car. That makes sense with my budget, and I'm comfortable with that. That's not going to bring stress. That's going to be good. But then you get to the lot, right? It happens to all of us. And then we fall in love with that one car, right? And the salespeople, they know how to detect it, right? You're like in the car that you can afford, and you're going like this. Yeah. And then you go into the other car that you can afford. Yeah. Then you go to that one. You're like, yeah. And the salesperson's just looking at you. Oh, yeah. She's going to buy that car. He's going to buy that car for sure. And then we go for the bigger and better and newer, forgetting that sometimes that can come with stress and toil. And that is like chasing after the wind. And that happens to all of us. I hope none of us are feeling bad by now, because we've all done it, because we forget about the invisible aspect of what comes built in something that's bigger and more expensive than we can afford. And we say it to ourselves. We're so good about kind of like lying to ourselves and deceiving ourselves, aren't we? We go like, but it's only $100 a month, right? It's like, I was ready to spend $300, but now this one, I love it so much, and it's $400. It's only $100, and the salesman is like, yeah, it's only $100. And we want to feel, all of us, that's all of us, we want to feel a little richer than we are. Don't we all? So it's like, I know this one I can buy, but that one, that's what I want. That's what I can, and that's what I want. But I want to feel better about myself and richer than I really am. And if we fall for that, that's going to come with the stress and the toil that the Bible is warning us against. Are you following me, church, so far? And so we have to be wise before we do the purchase. Like, what can I afford versus what do I want that may bring this invisible thing called stress that can be so bad. And so the Bible is teaching in this one verse that we learn that it's better to have one handful with tranquility than two with toil. The Bible is saying less is more with peace and more with stress. That's bad. So less is more and stress is bad. It is really bad, church. It's really, really bad. You can fight with your spouse because of it. You can even doubt God. And you can go even to the hospital, church, because of stress. That was some 5 years ago. Somebody from the church called me and they said, Pastor, can you visit a friend of mine in the hospital? I'm like, sure. We went over there. And the story was simple. Remember when banks were giving money, way more money than we could afford to buy property? And he bought a condo that was way more expensive than he could have afforded. And that became such a source of stress in his life that this 30-year-old healthy man ends up in a hospital having beginning stages of a heart attack. Because less is more. And more with stress, that's bad. So can we just have the self-control to resist the instant gratification of the bigger, better, more expensive, and newer, and stop and remember this verse? Holy Spirit, would you remind us of this verse for the rest of our lives? That less is more with peace than more with stress. Would you help us, God? Are you with me, church? And so that's what the Bible is teaching us here today. The less is more because stress is bad. Since we're talking about money, we also want to help you with money. How much should I pay for a car? That's a lot of adults don't know that. That's an impulse buy. You just go and you buy, and then you find out, ooh, that was more than I could pay for. Studies show that for you to keep still peace in your life and not stress, they say that the number is about the following. It's half of your yearly income should be invested in cars. Half of your yearly income. I'll give you an example. If your household is $50,000, that's what you bring in together, don't have more than $25,000 invested in cars. So if you need 2 cars, that's 2 cars that cost about $11,000 because plus tax and registrations and fees, whatever, that's going to be 12.5, 25. That is half of the 50. Did I go too fast? Because it makes sense to me. This is the 7th time I'm preaching this message. But I'll repeat it. If you make $50,000, don't spend more than $25,000 in car if you want to keep peace in your life instead of stress. Now, so repeat after me. Less is more. Less is more. Louder. Less is more. Less is more. Stress is bad. Stress is bad. Help us, God. Right? Now, the second thing that we're going to learn here today is the following. It's found in Acts 20:35, and it's the very words of Jesus Christ. And he said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Let's read it all together. It is more blessed to give. That was lame, church. Come on. We can do better. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I know, I can see now because it's like, yeah, projectors, Okay, gotcha. All right. Giving is good. I know that your flesh and your human nature and my flesh and my human nature, we don't believe it. We're like, no, that's not good. No, that's not really Jesus Christ speaking, Giving is good. Jesus Christ is teaching us that you'll be more blessed when you give than when you receive. And if you are a parent, if you have nieces and grandkids, you know how it feels. It's Christmas morning, and we have a tradition in our family that Christmas morning we record it. Because it doesn't matter how old your kids are, they all become 5 again when it's time to unwrap the gifts. And they say the coolest things like, "Grandpa gave this? He must be rich." And I have it on tape. I don't post it, but I have it. And so it is better to give than to receive are the very words of the Lord Jesus Christ. And it's a blessing, church. It's a blessing that it's hidden in plain sight. Because it's only when we go and we give, that's when we find that blessing. Because you're more blessed, he said, when you give than when you receive. Like, I have countless stories, church, of stories and situations that I went to a place to give, and God found a way to bless me. I'll give you an example. I used to train the deacons in the church to do home visits and hospital visits. And if a deacon had never done that before, we would sit down in the car. The whole training was simple. It was while we're driving to the hospital or someone's house, I would say, it's simple. It's listen, and love. Listen, and love. Because just by being there, people appreciate that so much, and they receive so much love just by our presence. And so every time, church, I kid you not, we will go to the place, and God somehow always finds a way to bless us. And I remember countless times getting back into the car, looking at the deacon's face, and they would go like, "What happened there, Pastor? We came here to give. And did you hear the words that the mother said? And it was so inspired by. Did you see the meal that they offered us? Did you see that one thing that happened in the way there? It's really, really strange. I'm not talking to your flesh, because your flesh, your human nature, is just like my human nature. They were like, no, me. It's better if it's mine. We want to keep it, just like a 3-year-old. The only difference between adults and a 3-year-old, we have a little more self-control. Because kids, they just say stuff that you're not supposed to say, right? I mean, I'm meeting a person, brand new person. My daughter, she's 3. She looks at this person's mouth and goes like, "What happened to your teeth?" right? But if you see like 3-year-olds, they're like keeping, me, mine, they're fighting for it. The only difference is now is that we're the bigger version of that. We think that the blessing is into keeping, but less is more. And to accumulate is like chasing after the wind. Are you following me, church? And so giving is good. Countless stories. I used to do prison ministries. I used to go to the one in San Isidro, and those guys are doing life in prison. Most of them are not going to leave that place. And you got to get there Saturday at 6 o'clock in the morning, so you wake up at 4:30, and it's a Saturday. Did I say that it was a Saturday? That we want to keep all our Saturdays, right? And then I will go there, and then it takes an hour to get there, and I'm getting to know the inmates and stuff like that before we have Bible study. And then it's lunchtime, and lunchtime you're hearing all their stories. See, I'm there to give. You think you're like, I'm there to give. I'm going to bless these people. I'm going to bring the hope that I have in Jesus Christ. I'm going to love on them. I'm going to hug them. I'm going to help them with anything I can. And then during lunch, we were eating what they were eating, and it was bologna sandwich that day. And we're eating bologna sandwich, and I asked, what's for lunch tomorrow? They all started laughing. All of them, like, don't you know? I'm like, you know what? It's bologna sandwich every day for the rest of our lives here. That's lunch. And at that moment, something happened in my heart, church, that when I left prison, it was nighttime in the winter. I remember the blessing of one, I'm not there, incarcerated, and I probably could have been there for all the dumb stuff I did before Jesus was in my heart. Second, I could stop at any supermarket and buy anything I want. We take it for granted, church. But it's like, I went over there just to give, and I got out of there, church. I promise you. I looked the same. I didn't become Brad Pitt when I was there. My paycheck was the same. My wife was the same. My kids were the same. My boss was the same. My house was the same. My car was the same. Everything was the same. But I was feeling so blessed just because I gave a Saturday to God to bless others. And God always finds a way to give something that's 100-fold. Why? Because it's a promise. It's the very words of Jesus Christ. And Jesus says at church, I vote for Jesus because he came back from the dead. He has enough credit in my books, all right? And he says you'll be way more blessed when you give than when you receive. And so giving is good. We learned that less is more, stress is bad, and giving is good. And so as followers of Christ, we have to kind of fight our human nature that is a keeper. We want to keep everything to ourselves. Fight that and become givers because we are imitators of God and followers of Jesus Christ. Are you with me, church? Count how many times I'm going to say give, okay? God gave us life. Then he gives us Jesus. Then he gives us forgiveness on the cross. Then he gives us a new heart. He gives us a new mind, a new beginning. He gives us a family. He gives us hope. He gives us purpose. He gives us a meal. He gives us shelter. He provides for us. Did you count how many gives I said? And now we are imitators of God, followers of Christ. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. And whoever believes in him will not die but have eternal life. Are you following me, church? God is a giver. And we, as imitators of God, we want to be givers. And so what I'm talking here, it's a lifestyle of giving. A lifestyle of giving. That instead of going to the different environments that we go, like work and a hobby and home, what if we went to those environments with the heart of like, I'm here to give. I am here to give. I'm going to give maybe encouragement to someone. I'm going to give a prayer. I'm going to give my shoulder. I'm here to give. God, use me today. I want to give. I want to be a giver. And would you help me in that? Because giving is good. And more blessed we are when we give than when we receive. There's a blessing hidden in plain sight when we give. Are we following, church? I heard about this couple that to remind themselves that they are givers and not keepers, they put $20 in their wallet every month, and I thought that was really cool. Really, really cool. $20 in their wallet, and that $20 was just a reminder that they are givers. And they would pray to God every month, God, here's an extra $20 per month. We want to give it to someone. Would you show to us who needs this money this month? And they said, surely enough, God always opened up an opportunity. Sometimes they would be at the checkout stand in a supermarket and someone ran out of money and they will pay for the whole thing and would give the extra $20. Sometimes it was a co-worker, sometimes it was a family member, sometimes it was a random stranger on the street. But that was a reminder to them that we are givers, that we're not only want to be givers, we want to put some steps that will remind me that I am a giver, and also I want to give, and that's something that we all can do, right? To the point that God blessed them so much that now they've been doing this for a decade or more. Now they have $100 each on their wallets and their purse, just because they want to be that intentional with giving. Isn't that a beautiful thing? I was inspired, totally inspired by that. Why? Because it is better to give than to receive. But not only money, we're givers of everything. When I'm surfing, I'll give you the example. I don't have anything to give to the other surfers, right? I don't keep $10 in my wetsuit like, hey, by the way, here's... No, but like you can give a smile. You can give an encouragement. Someone gets a great wave, and then I'll go like, dude, that was a great wave. Because you don't know, there's a lot of like competition when you're surfing. There's a lot of like pride. It's like, but when there's somebody there saying, man, dude, great wave, bro. That was a great wave. That was a great job. You see their faces change. Right? Having the lifestyle of giving. I'm going to give, even if it's free stuff. But now, since it's a financial series, we're going to talk about giving money and giving money to God and giving money to the church. So if you are a follower of Christ and you had a life-changing experience with God, with Jesus, I'm talking to you. If you haven't had a life-changing experience with Jesus, you get a hall pass. I'm not talking to you. You can just listen in to what us crazy Christians do because we want to follow Jesus, okay? So if you're not a follower of Christ, you don't have to do any of this stuff. So as far as giving money to God, God is asking us as followers of Christ to rearrange our entire giving in a way that we start with God and the local church. Let's read it together. Proverbs 3:9. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruit of your income. Let's read it all together. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of your crops. We're not farmers here, so it's not honor your God with your wealth, with the first fruit of all your crops, but it's honor your God with your wealth, with the first fruit of all your income. That giving to God and giving to the local church, again, for followers of Christ, it is a way of worshiping God and honoring God and saying, God, thank you for giving me everything I have. You gave me life, you gave me health, you give me everything I've had so far came from you, and to honor you, I'm going to get the first and the best. You heard it right. The first and the best is going to go to God. It's rearranging our finances. It's not like me. And then we come, and if we don't know this, we're bringing leftovers to God. And we don't even do this to guests, church. Can you imagine, like, I invite you for dinner. Hey, would you come over for dinner? Sure. You're going to dress up, and I'm going to, clean the house, right? We prepare the house. My wife cleans even the ceiling when you guys are coming over. It's like, Let's clean the whole thing. Let's kill every spider in this whole planet, okay? And that's how we treat. And then we cook, right? We cook something that's one of the best things, the same thing that you're going to bring it to Hub. Anyways, we cook the best thing, and then we welcome, we light up candles, and it smells amazing, right? Isn't that what we do with guests? Can you imagine if guests showed up, and you're like, hey, welcome. Open up the fridge. We have all kinds of leftovers. Would you like some Thai leftover? Honey, was this Tuesday or Wednesday? Okay, yeah, Thai. We have Thai. We have, what is this? Oh, half of a burrito. Anyone? Okay. Chinese from, this company. They closed this company like 5 years ago, didn't they? And that's sometimes what we're doing with God. So the whole honor God with your wealth and the first fruits means, the first fruits, if you're a farmer, it was the best of the crop. You're just going to give it to God and say, God, thank you, because if we have our harvest today, it's because of your faithfulness, the first and the best. So yeah, God is asking us to rearrange our budget where God and the kingdom of God and the progress of the gospel becomes first in our giving. The first check we write every month has to be for God and the advancement of His kingdom. So far, so good, church? I know this message is going to get a little uncomfortable, but my job is to teach you, and everything else is the work of the Holy Spirit that has to be done in our hearts. God doesn't want us to give out of compulsion, out of obligation. God says in the Bible that He loves a cheerful giving. And so in view of God's mercies, it has to be in view of His goodness, in view of His greatness, in view of His patience, in view of His kindness, in view of that, how great He has been to us. We want to respond to that. That's why giving is an act of worship that would just go, this apple, God, that is my income. I'm not going to give you the leftover apple. I'm just going to cut the first and the best part of the apple. I'm going to give it to you instead of giving you leftover. So, and then people ask, how much should I give to God and the church? Now, there's a percentage that we see in the Bible, even before there was a Bible. There's a percentage we see in the Bible even before there was a Bible. Abraham, he gave about 1,600 years before Jesus, he gave 10% to King Melchizedek. And that was an offering. He wanted to honor God with the first fruit, and so he gave 10%. Even before there was a rule, even before there was a law, even before there was a book, that was something that the Holy Spirit inspired Melchizedek to give 10% for God and His kingdom. And so it's the number that we see in the Bible over and over is 10%. Let's read it together. In Malachi 3:10, it says the following: bring the whole tithe, and that's the word. It means 10%. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that may be food in my house. And then, this is the cool thing about, this is the only verse in the Bible that it is, God asks us to do something, but there's a promise attached to it. And the promise is the following: test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessings that there will be no room enough to store it. And so here's the promise. It's like you bring 10% to God and to the house of God for the furtherance of God's kingdom, for the progress of the gospel, for more people to be saved, for more people in the community to be blessed by it. And as we do that, the promise is, I will open up the floodgates of heaven, meaning I will bless you. It's going to seem like you're not going to have enough, but I promise you, you will have enough when you do this, because you're doing by faith, and God is saying, test me on it. And so that's the number. And then there's always the debate of Christians, and if you're going to do your own research, some people say, hey, but we're not under the law right now. We're new covenant Christians now. We're in the covenant of grace. That was the law. Remember, I told you it was before the law. They were already giving 10%. And so when Jesus says, yeah, you're doing great things for God. you're giving this, you're giving that, and he says, you're giving 10% of all your crops, and that's a good thing, but don't forget to be merciful, to be loving, because there are more important things that are in your heart. But so Jesus, he affirms the 10%. And so the debate of percentage, do we have to give 10%, or is that old law? I feel the following, that we're not obligated to give 10%, but it's a good place to live life there. You're not are you forced to give flowers to your wife? No, you're not. But it's a good thing, right? It's a great idea. And so when God's saying, yes, you are under the grace, you're not under the law anymore, but it's a good place to be, to give 10% of all of our income, all of it. When I got saved, I was 24. I was in college and broke. So broke, church. Broke. I was making $1,500 as a valet. I was working pizza delivery for Papa John's, which is funny because my daughters, they love Papa John's, and we go to the store that I used to work, and I know the owner there. What's up, Tony? And I used to be a delivery driver and a valet, so I was broke. But my pastor taught me from the beginning, 10% belongs to God. Honor God with your wealth and see what he's going to do with the 90%. That is his anyways. How much he's going to bless you, the 90% that you get to use with yourself. And so I remember it wasn't big. You know, my offering to God was $150, but it was a lot for me. And so when we say how much should we give, you got to remember this, it is a percentage. It is a percentage because a percentage makes it a sacrificial to all of us. If you're making $1,500 like I was making it, it's a sacrifice. If you're making $15,000 per month, I know that's going to be a sacrifice for you to give $1,500 to God. That's why God is not impressed with the numbers, but God is impressed with the percentage. Because the percentage, we're all in the same boat. Dollar amounts, we're all in a different boat. Percentage-wise, we're all in the same boat. And so are you obligated? Are you doing something wrong if you're not giving the 10%? I don't think you're doing something wrong per se, but I think you're missing out. Because the Bible says that the money we give is like seeds that we're throwing into the universe. Well, what's the best word? That we're sowing these seeds by giving financially to God in his local church. That 2 Corinthians 9:6 says the following, and this verse is totally about giving. It says, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. So are we doing something wrong if we're not giving 10%? I don't think you are doing anything wrong. I think you are just missing out maybe. But if you've never done it before, maybe you've never given anything to God and the local church, here's a couple of things. Maybe you want to start at 5% and test God in it. See what happens. And I got to give a little side note here. This has nothing to do with me and OB1 and my salary. I gotta say this, church, because just so you know, I don't even write checks and I don't sign checks here at OB1. If you didn't know this, my salary is set by the financial board of this church, and I am not looking for a raise. I can probably have my same salary for the next 10 years. This has nothing to do with me, this church. This is not a fundraiser that I'm doing right here. It is teaching us how to be followers of Christ. How this has nothing to do with me, salaries, but it has everything to do with you, your heart, and the kingdom of God and salvations of others. Are you following me, church? Has nothing to do with, I don't know who gives and who doesn't give, and I don't even want to know. This is 100% between you and God and the people that count there, and I never ask and I never will. But it has everything to do with you, your heart, God, and the salvation of others. Are you with me, church? It's good for you to know this. has nothing to do with me and my salary, has nothing to do with any of that. Thank God we don't have rent, we don't have a mortgage here. Everything that we have, it's really can be used for ministry, has nothing to do, but it has everything to do with us being followers of Christ, that we want to honor God with our wealth by bringing Him the first and the best of our income, because it is good to give. It is more blessed those who give than those who receive. Amen, church? So here's a step for you. Maybe you want to start even this month, if maybe you've never given anything. Why don't you start somewhere? Why don't you start somewhere? Get a percentage of your income, talk to your spouse about it, set it up, and invest now by bringing to God and the local church. So in summary, church, better is one handful with tranquility than two with stress. Giving is good. We'll be more blessed when we give than when we receive. And we bring a percentage, the first and the best of our income, to God, to the local church, for the furtherance of God's kingdom. Amen? Let's pray.